Once again, welcome back to our Personal Selling Weekly. Today we will focus on, I think, a very important topic, namely the review meetings. You have every month or every second week with your sales manager or your salespeople, depending on your role in the organization. And I heard a study made some years back. I think it was Baines and Company that had been out interviewing a lot of salespeople and asked them, how much would you be willing to pay for a review meeting with your manager? And what they came up with was both scary and fascinating at the same time. Because on average, salespeople didn't want to pay or didn't even want to pay $1 for a review meeting. And again, proving that, at least from their perspective, those meetings was not really creating any value. And when I have talked with sales managers and salespeople all over the world for the last 20 years, very often when I ask them about review meetings and what's the purpose of the review meeting, they think, wow, the main purpose is to follow up on budgets and pipeline. And especially when it comes to follow up on budgets, it's about identifying where we are behind in relation to budget and then explain why we are behind. But if everything you discuss in a review meeting is centered around the sales numbers, you're basically running your business like a person would drive a car just looking in the rear mirror. Because the numbers you have in your sales statistics today reflect the behavior from the past. Because it's the sum of the behavior of the past that have created the numbers you have in your sales statistics today. And then you can ask yourself, how much can I actually do to change the behavior of the past? And the simple answer is nothing. Of course, you cannot change the past unless you have a traveling machine where you can go back and then redo something or do something you didn't do. And again, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these review meetings are not really worth anything from the salesperson's perspective. Because if you spend all your time discussing things you can do nothing about, no value is created. So today we will discuss a process or share with you a method where you can actually start to transform these meetings so that they end up actually creating value for the salesperson. And as a side product, give the information you as a sales manager need so that you can do your reporting to the organization. And again here, so again, what we find is much more useful than really only focusing on the sales numbers and the sales data, is to understand what among the behavior which have been in the organization the last month or two have actually created results. And you do that by asking a very simple question. And that's, where have you actually created results over the last months? Where have you done something that has actually created value for a customer? What have been your 2-3 best sales calls and what happened in those sales calls? Because by asking these questions, you help the salesperson start to focus on what actually produced results for them. And the more they think about that, the more they're rehearsing and recharging those neurological circuits that actually represent that behavior. And the bigger chance there is that behavior will come back again and again also in the future. So this is really where we would like you to start. Understanding what is it that have been going on the last months or 2 months that have actually been worth paying for. Then the next part of the meeting is really defining where do we want to go. And this is where you ask questions like, when we meet again next month, which project would you like to have finalized? Which meetings would you have liked to have done and with which customers? And why is that important? Because when you do this, the salesperson starts to focus their mind not on what have happened, but on what they would like to see have happened when they meet again. And when you do that, it really helps the salesperson become much more focused on what will create the results that would lead to those outcomes. Because that's the third thing we would like you to discuss with the salesperson during these review meetings, is basically to ask them, so to get to those outcomes we have now discussed and described, what would you need to do to actually get there? Which resources do you already have? And which resources would you need to add so that you can actually deliver what we have now agreed upon? Where do you need my help as a sales manager? And do you need help from any of your colleagues? And again, if you go in and have the salesperson clarify where they would like to be 1 month from now and how they would know they have arrived there, and they also have a chance to discuss what they believe that they will have to do to make that happen. It's as though you are creating a pull from the future, which will help the salesperson prioritize their time so that they can start to really focus on what will gain the productivity you really want in the organization. And by doing that, the salesperson become much more proactive, because it will be easier for them in their day-to-day works to sort among all the different activities so that they can filter out the noise and really focus on what will give them the results they want. And then we always recommend to end a review meetings by saying, so what are the first 1 or 2 things you can do now as a consequence of this meeting? And our argument today is that if every review meeting help the salesperson understand and focus on the next few steps they want and need to take to really produce the outcome they want to create, now you have created value for them in that review meeting. And as a side product, as you will also start to understand, which project is this salesperson actually focusing on? Where have they created results? And I think this will give you a really, really deep insights to what's actually going on in the different territories. So another thing you will also get from using this approach is that you will basically get a lot of very good ideas. Because when you start all meetings by asking, what have you done that have actually produced outcomes in your territory, you will get all the successes from one territory. And when you get successes from all the territories, you'll be able to basically take the best of those ideas and spread to the other salespeople. And I think I had that experience when I was leading the sales force in the Nordic, Dark Nordic back 20 years ago. So I was out there meeting customers with my salespeople. I had review meetings like this. And I actually always spent as much time with my best salespeople as I did with my not so high-performing salespeople, because that allowed me to learn from the best and then teach that on to those who were not as good yet. So I think also this is what you can get from running review meetings in the right format. Instead of just getting dead information about the past that nobody can do anything about. I hope this small talk today have inspired you a little about how you can reboost your review meeting and bring some value and quality into those meetings so that they can actually start supporting you getting the results you and your colleagues want. So again, thank you for joining us this week. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below and then see you again next week.